And what's very interesting is that Biden's FBI, that's FBI 1.0, by the way, prevented Customs and Border Patrol from searching and questioning Dr. Peter Daszak on return trip from China, the man who funded COVID research in China. So what's very interesting, and Bill Mulligan put this out, is that Senator Rand Paul, the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, just released internal federal documents, which he says shows that the FBI intervened and stopped CBP from searching and questioning Peter Daszak upon his return to the U.S. from China at JFK Airport in 2021 during the WHO's investigation into the origins of COVID-19 pandemic. The documents show that CBP's National Targeting Center had flagged Daszak, president of the EcoHealth Alliance, as an extremely high person of interest ahead of his arrival in the U.S., citing his more than 15 years of collaboration with the Wuhan Institute of Virology and his role as principal investigator on NIH grants funding back coronavirus research in China, and that much of the funding Daszak received is put towards gain-of-function research. The documents reveal that CBP had a series of questions they planned to ask Daszak when he landed and were going to search his media, until they were told to stand down by the FBI. In an email dated 2/4/2021, a CBP official notifies others within CBP, please be advised that FBI New York has requested we do not stop the subject below. Chairman Paul says as a result, the stop, search, and questioning of Daszak never happened. And that is FBI 1.0. Just like we have DOJ 1.0. We had CIA 1.0, ODNI 1.0, DHS 1.0. We're now on 2.0. Trump has control over the agencies that block everything. Remember, they are the firewall. Trump removed the firewall. Remember when we had Clinton, Bush, and Obama tell us that the science is clear? These vaccines will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease? Well, the science is clear. They were completely and utterly wrong. So 3 former installed presidents told you to take a vaccine, that it would help you. They lied. And once again, they're part of the criminal syndicate system. And when you look back in time, you could see it was the fake news. It was everything that the deep state players put into place. They were all lockstep, coordinated, telling you the same story over and over and over. And they just wanted you to take the bioweapon so they can actually have a pandemic. The pandemic was the bioweapon. It included COVID. It was a gift. And yes, of course, other side effects. Because they knew in the very beginning that the virus that was released, it wasn't going to be enough, because those people that were healthy and young, they would just recover with no problem. They wouldn't need a vaccine. And they wouldn't be able to push the pandemic at all. It would just die out. That's why Trump in the very beginning, if you go back to, I think it was like March 2020 or April 2020, he mentioned hydroxychloroquine, that it acts like a vaccine. Because again, if we had ivermectin hydroxychloroquine, we wouldn't even have any types of problem whatsoever. There'd be no shutdown. There'd be no one panicking. And the only way they were able to keep this going was to use the propaganda networks, which was the fake news. They needed to put the tickers on the screen to make everyone believe that everyone was sick, that everyone was dying. And they needed to force everyone to get the bioweapon. And this way they could always give them the boosters. Oh, it's time again to get your booster. And they would keep this going over and over and over. People would get sicker and sicker and sicker, which we're seeing today. And of course, yes, they use this to manipulate the elections and overthrow the United States government. And yes, there's many different agendas associated with this. But again, you can see what the deep state players were trying to do. Just like we see Mamdani, where he's saying, hey, look, we got to protect Iran. We got to protect the other countries out there, like the terrorist organization, not even the countries, the terrorist organizations. And that's why we're going to arrest Netanyahu. And this is not going well for the mayor of New York City, because you have to remember, he's an installed mayor. He runs the city, and they tried to have talks with Iran, the terrorist organization. They then made the announcement that they're going to be arresting Benjamin Netanyahu, and Trump pretty much shot him down. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, Benjamin Netanyahu will not be arrested in any way, shape, or form while in the United States of America. He is fighting against the Islamic Republic of Iran, which recently killed 52,000 innocent protesters and has spent the last 47 years killing American soldiers and others. The only ones that should be arrested are the people that led Iran into the unprecedented spiral of death and destruction, something that should have been dealt with years ago by previous presidents, President DJT. But again, they were never going to do this because, again, this was part of their system, just like Venezuela, just like Cuba, just like Ukraine and everything else. This was Afghanistan, actually, if you look at that, because, again, they protected the poppy fields and they sold the drugs across the globe. This was all part of their system. And the other part of their system was trafficking. They trafficked children. I mean, all you got to do is go back to the Biden administration, and you can see all the children that were brought over the border. They weren't lost. They were trafficked. They were sent to work camps, to sex camps, you name it. And what's very interesting is that Maha Action put this out and says, and this is coming from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., my agency was the single biggest child trafficker in the world. RFK Jr. says the Biden administration turned HHS into the world's largest child trafficking operation. A lot of them were sent to work at slaughterhouses, picking fruits in the fields. They were slaves. Now everybody who comes in has to validate their relationship. We DNA test them to make sure they're related to that kid. We check their employment records. We check their salaries, what they got in the bank, and we check their driver's licenses. Nobody gets a kid unless we know that they are the kid's parents or relative. None of that was done during the Biden administration. And yes, they were trafficking the children, and they were money laundering at the same exact time. HH Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Breaking 911, put this out, says that the Trump administration is pausing more than $1 billion in Medicaid payments to California and Minnesota over suspected fraud and noncompliance, saying the states must provide documentation showing the payments are legitimate if they want the funding released. And that's the way it should be. Show us the proof. Where is this money going? Let's track everything. But again, they didn't want anything tracked because this is part of their system. The laundering of money funds the criminal syndicate. And all you got to do is go back to the Biden administration because the evidence is clear as day. It's amazing. They overthrew the United States government. They reversed everything that Trump did. They took the country and they accelerated the money laundering, the child trafficking, the wokeism, and everything else. It's almost like Trump planned this, where all the evidence would be right in front of us and it would be easy to show the American people. Eric Doherty put this out and said, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just revealed that the Biden HHS fired dozens of staffs responsible for blocking fraud. They de facto legalized fraud by doing this. The Biden administration HHS got rid of about 50 or 60 of the people who were charged with monitoring fraud. And what's important here is that we are stopping the money from going out. So once the money gets out, trying to retrieve it, it's very, very difficult. So stopping it at the source, here is our goal, and here's hundreds of billions of dollars here, and this is the start. We are off to a great start. And yes, you always need to go to the source. You shut down the source, the money then isn't distributed. Eventually, we'll go to the actual source, and that is the Federal Reserve. That is the actual source of all of this. And you can see the deep state players, they're panicking right now because the Trump administration is uncovering and showing the American people how they fund their system. And this is why Trump went ahead and shut down USAID, brought in Doge, brought in Elon, shut down the 14 computers because he needed a way to shut down the money laundering. He couldn't go all the way to the Federal Reserve because if he shut down the Federal Reserve, it would destroy the economy. So you go to the middle area where the money is then distributed. You shut down the distribution. And this is exactly what Trump and team have done right now. And then those individuals receiving any type of funds, they have to show proof of where the money went, or they don't get any funds. This is how you control it all. And it allows you then to keep the economy operational. It allows you to expose the money laundering, and it allows you to then go after the Federal Reserve when all said and done. Because when you remove the bloated agencies, when you remove the fraud, when you remove everything, it makes it that much easier. Because again, they lose their ammunition. They lose the ability to fight back. And this is what Trump is doing, slowly but surely destroying everything that they set up. And he's allowing the Ds to do what they do best. Basically, and never interfere with an enemy while in the process of destroying themselves. You allow them to go full woke. You allow them to go full communism. So this way, the people of this country see it very clearly. And what you're starting to see, there are certain individuals now that are saying that we cannot go down this path. Actually, what's very interesting is that the Democrats are very worried about Fetterman right now. They're worried and they're very concerned that he might switch parties to Republican. Isn't that interesting? So Fetterman right now, maybe he's discussing this. Maybe he's looking at all of this. Let's see how this all plays out in the end. Because if this should happen, the Dems are pretty much screwed. Well, they're screwed anyhow, because as everyone is seeing this, they realize who the Democrats really are. And think about what else Trump is doing right now. As he's exposing the money laundering system, he's also exposing how the U.S. government was overthrown. And to do this, you just don't have to show the election rigging. You also have to show what happens when you overthrow the United States government. What happens to the country? Who's actually running the country? Who's making decisions? The auto pen that Joe Biden was using, should this stand? See, I think what Trump is doing right now, he's creating the entire narrative to, yes, show how they overthrew the United States government, but also he needs it to reverse everything that Biden did. Because think about what just happened. A 3-judge panel for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit denied former Joe Biden's emergency motion for an injunction pending appeal that sought to block the Justice Department from releasing redacted transcripts and audio recordings from his private conversations with ghostwriter Mark Zwanitzer. So the materials are an issue. There are hours of recordings and transcripts from 2016 and 2017 in which Biden spoke with Zwanitzer while preparing his memoirs. Special counsel Robert Hur obtained the recordings during his investigation into Biden's unauthorized retention and disclosure of classified documents. Hur's team prepared transcripts and relied on both the audio transcripts in concluding that Biden willfully retained classified material after leaving the vice presidency while ultimately declining to bring charges. Hur's report famously described Biden as well-meaning, elderly man with poor memory. So remember, Biden, he tried to invoke the executive privilege, but again, they removed it from Trump, so it didn't work for him. But think about why all this is happening right now. This all goes back to the overthrow of the United States government. They overthrew the government. They put someone that had dementia. They covered up for his dementia. The person in the basement, which is Obama, was running the country, pushing the agenda, accelerated the agenda, exactly what Trump wanted, and used the auto pen to sign executive orders, make nominations, and to do many other things. So why did Trump want to show the people this? Because I do believe he's building the case right now to reverse everything that they did. Yes, of course it's treasonous. Of course they're going to be held on charges. But again, he's building the case against the auto pen. He's building the case against the nominations and the confirmations. He's building the case against the executive orders that were put into place. He's building the case on the laws that were signed. If there was an overthrow of the United States government, can all of this stand? Trump is building the case right now. Think about what he's doing. And remember, let's go back a little bit in time. When Trump came into the White House during his first term, Obama warned him of foreign interference in the elections. Now, of course, he didn't say China. He said Russia. He never mentioned China because, again, they wanted everyone focused on Russia while they manipulated the elections using China. And, of course, they were building the case that Trump worked with Russia to manipulate the elections. Mays put this out and said, December 2016, during the hour-long press conference that Obama used to get the Russia hoax rolling, he said that he hopes Trump is concerned about foreign interference in future elections. Only Russia, though. CNN wouldn't even cover Trump talking about China. So they're part of this whole thing. I'm talking about the fake news. They only wanted to point to Russia because they knew that they were working with China to manipulate the elections. And of course, that's not the only country. This is why they never wanted anyone to look at the machines. Because again, they use the machines to switch certain votes. So Rasmussen reports, put this on side, if Big Cheat uses a virtual machine to secretly erase or flip votes, does it leave any evidence of its activities? Yes, it does, but it requires a top-level forensic analysis of the equipment, which is always blocked, like the ballots, by local courts and election officials. Because if you actually got your hands on it, you would see how it was done. It would be clear as day if you actually got your hands on the ballots, if you got the hands on the machines. This is why they always protected the ballots and the machines, because that's how they cheated. And once again, Trump is now building this narrative. Yes, of course, to pass the Save America Act. Yes, of course, to issue the executive order. But he's getting the people on his side to push all of this. Because you have to remember, he's building the counterinsurgency. He hasn't stopped building the counterinsurgency. He's showing everyone what they did to continually build the counterinsurgency. Because, let's say, he built it, showing everyone how they brought illegals over the country, over the border into this country. He's showing everyone that they brought in terrorists, gang members, and everything else. He's showing everyone how they laundered the money. And now he's showing everyone how they manipulated the elections. So are the people on the side of Trump? Absolutely. Rasmussen reports put this out and said, 64% of voters believe it's likely China has interfered in U.S. elections, and 77% say it's serious. 55% say very serious, that China may have illegal access to American voter data. And yes, all of these specific voters are Democrats. Very, very interesting. So Trump, he's basically building the narrative, showing the American people, because we know what's coming. We know that they're going to be pushing events. We know they're going to be pushing riots, most likely maybe some type of cyber event. We know there's going to be a lot more lawsuits. And you have to remember, those people that were treasonous to this country and those people that are on the lower level, because remember, there's many different levels. You know, it's those people on the lower level with the elections. They have the foot soldiers, which are even lower than that. Then you go up to local government. You go up to the federal judges, the prosecutors. You go up to D.C., in the House and in the Senate. You go up to the presidency. Of course, you have all the staffers. So I wonder if the low-level people, you think they're going to stick around as all this starts to fall apart? Probably not, because treason in the end doesn't pay very well. And when Trump is showing the world how all these people are treasonous, I think the deep state players are going to have a very difficult time doing anything, because they're going to be losing their people left and right. Now, those people that have the most to lose, they will push back as hard as they possibly can. And Trump is getting prepared for all of this. And he has to show the American people, because the American people must understand the crimes that they have committed. And they've committed a lot of crimes against this country and the people of this country. And you have to remember what Trump is doing. All of this is about bringing the hammer down on all of them. This is one gigantic sting operation, because once the people see it, they're the ones who are going to say, we want justice. Actually, they're going to scream it from the rooftop, because they're going to see money laundering. They're going to see they infiltrated this country. They overthrew the United States government. They sold secrets to other nations. When people see this, they are going to demand that Trump arrest them and bring them all to justice. And at the right moment, at the right time, all of a sudden you might see indictments come out one after another. And yes, the deep state players, they will be scrambling. They won't know what the hell's going on. And I do believe Trump will probably release them in batches or maybe all at once, just to confuse the deep state players. And in the end, we will have justice. We will have accountability. And the people, in the end, will demand it. Why? Because the patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot. Are you feeling good?